Minds. I'm Steve Harper. With me, as always, is my co-host Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thank you very much. And yourself?
I am doing fantastic. Excited for today's conversation. So, what are we talking about today?
It's the first time I didn't say that and then you said it. So there you
I
go.
beat it. I beat you.
Yeah, go figure. So I read this um, along with a book recommendation that I plan to buy. The book is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. And I heard amazing things. So I sort of investigated. And this was one of the things that popped up for me that I wanted to share with you and our audience, obviously. The truth is, what you do matters. What you do today matters. What you do every day matters. Successful people just do the things that seem to make no difference in the act of doing them, and they still do them over and over and over until the compound effect kicks in.
Mm,
I just loved that. It also builds on consistency, right? Even though there's no visible change in something, they still do it until there is a tipping point. And I see that. I see that in how, like here locally, people honor the environment by composting more, using plastic less. And they say, we're only one person, but then it's the next person and the next person until there's a tipping point.
yeah.
There's there's things that we do every single day, like we talked about in one of the previous way back when shows. um, a homeless person that I used to see every single day in Chicago, and another one in Baltimore that I would pass every single day, and I would stop and have a quick conversation with them. And the tipping point was amazing because they would greet me with a smile rather than their angst, and ask me about my day and wish me a blessed day rather than scare the living daylights out of me, which some of them did. So it's just this consistency, and people watching what I was doing and hopefully adopting it. It doesn't take anything away from what I have to accomplish in a day or who I am. What it is doing the things that matter. And the second part of that that really resonated with me: how many times do we hear tomorrow? I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'll call that person tomorrow or next week or when I have time. And it's like everything's pushed back. And it's true. What happens today matters.
Mm-hmm.
What happens this moment matters. The conversation you have with anybody at this moment in time, rather than push it back, let angst just increase into conflict, whatever it is, or somebody, heaven forbid, dies between now and the time that you got around to calling them. Life happens, right? What you do within it matters. Every person, though, not just those that are famous, not just those who are the heads of companies. Every single person on this planet matters, and what they do matters. And how do we talk to ourselves in a way that we get it?
Yeah. It's a really interesting take because I think a lot of times people don't actually think about what it takes to actually see the result, right? And I think the interesting thing, we've covered this in episodes before, or at least touched on it. The successful people aren't looking for the result today; they're looking for the result tomorrow, right? Or down the road at some point. And I'm thinking, on the basic level for our audience, if you think about, you want to get stronger, let's say physically fit, you want to get stronger, and you want to, have some guns, for your arms. Well, you have to do a certain thing every couple of days, or at least consistently, in order to see results. And the minute you decide, hey, I want to look a particular way, and you decide to sit down and do two push-ups, and then you go back to the mirror and you're looking for these guns that you've imagined, doesn't work that way. You have to do, maybe two's all you can do. You eventually get to 5 or 10 or 20, but you do it every day with, without going back to the mirror, just expecting that at some point in the future, you're going to be able to start to see the results, and you will. And that's
Yeah.
true in almost anything in life, whether that's your physical fitness, whether that's moving towards a goal. Successful people just have figured out that they don't get caught up in the details, they get caught up in the work. And that's the thing that I really admire about the people that I've seen be very successful. They show up, they do what is necessary, and they do it when it's necessary, and they don't do it with complaint. They don't do it with, begrudgment. They do it because it has to be done. And they'll, when you string several of those days or months or years together, the cumulative effect always wins out. You always figure out a way to, uh, to achieve it. And successful people always seem to find a way to achieve whatever it is that they're striving for, because they consistently showed up for themselves and for that, to deliver whatever that result needed to be. And so when you talk about the compound effect, everything you do is another, step in the journey towards getting to the end game, the success, the building the company, launching your product, doing the startup, building your team, creating the kind of life that you want, all these things, it's a process. And I find that often way too many people just punch out way too early. Or they look at everybody else with some sort of envy, thinking, gosh, you're just so lucky, or you have better education, or a better pedigree, or you've got better backing, or you have just the luck that I don't seem to have. Well, yeah, because you're sitting here complaining about the luck you don't have rather than putting in the work. And, you'll complain to anybody and everybody who will listen about why everybody else is, so successful or doing so much more than you are, rather than just close your mouth and put in the time and the effort. And eventually you can get there. Does that mean you're successful in everything you put your mind to? No, absolutely not. But at the end of the day, that's where I think a lot of people give up. They're doing their 2 push-ups and then running to the mirror looking for the result. And when it's not there, it's like, well, that didn't work. So life's stacked against me. And I find that happens way too often. And with people that you would be surprised to think that they allow that lack of consistency to really work against them.
So this is more on point for our last week's show, talking about consistency and commitment. I'm looking at what we do now matters, what we give, what we say, what we um, what we focus on externally. How does it impact people? How does it impact the world? How does it impact the our sustainable planet? How does it impact the well-being of others other than ourselves?
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at. What we do right now matters. It matters to us. It matters to a whole lot of other people. So, looking outwardly, not necessarily to our personal fitness or our commitment to doing 5 push-ups, which really speaks to what we spoke about last week. Is it last week or 2 weeks ago? I can't even remember. So, looking at it from our focus, our words, our attention, our presence, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
When we say something that is cutting to somebody else, it matters. You can't just fluff it off as if it didn't come out of your mouth. It matters. What you say and what you do tomorrow matters. And we tend to amplify what we do that gets the positive attention. We tend to minimize or hide away from the negative impact of something that we did, regardless of whether or not it was good or bad or indifferent. What you do matters to somebody, to the planet, in some way, shape, or form, and to pay attention to that. Everything we do has a cause and effect, or as Mr. King of the Ripple talks about, it has a ripple effect, and there's a
Yeah.
positive ripple and there's a negative ripple. And we've seen that. You see somebody who's having a horrible day, and you take a moment just to check in with them and say, I hope the rest of your day is wonderful. It gives them a spring to their step.
Sure.
And if you cut somebody at the knees, they're going to, that ripple effect is going to mean that they're going to be miserable to the, the next five people that cross their paths. So that's what I meant by it matters.
Hmm.
And how do you pay attention to that? Because you're a human being with impact. You don't live in a bubble. And so what is it that you could do to pay attention to what you how you show up to the world and yourself within it,
Hmm.
and recognize that you have the potential of having a terrific impact on so many people.
Yeah, I think part of it is you have to look at your own you know commitment to what you do, right? Yourself, how you show up, and the approach that you're taking, but then recognize that you can stand as the example. You can be a change maker. You can be someone who, just like you said, somebody's having a bad day and you completely reverse course for them because you stop and you pay attention to them, you shine a light on them, or you just ask them, it seems like you're having a bad day. What's going on? Do you need to talk about it? You need a hug? You need a shoulder to cry on? Do you need me right now to just be here in this moment with you? Those things have such a huge impact. And when people see you do those things consistently, they are inspired and hopefully motivated to do the same, right? Your behavior inspires someone else to do the same. It's I use it often when I talk about speeches. When we talk about how do you become a rippler, well, walk out into the mall parking lot, or at your local coffee shop, and you see a piece of trash that somebody just threw down or left on a table or whatever. It's no skin off your nose to actually pick it up and throw it away. And you do it not because you're looking for the attention or the notoriety, but it's the right thing to do. But that right thing to do may have just impacted three other people who paid attention to that wasn't your trash. Why'd you throw it away? Oh, they're doing that because, I should have stepped up and done that. Or maybe I will step up next time and do that. These things that we have the opportunity. I look at it from my perspective, through my view of the ripple, is that we are presented in life every single day number of opportunities to create a positive difference. Walk more than drive. Reduce our electricity consumption. Recycle or throw out trash, or just be a positive influence on someone who may not have one, and finding an avenue. I was thinking about it last night. As a matter of fact, actually, I had a soccer game last night, and one of the players that had subbed in for me, I noticed, was just unusually quiet. So when I got home, I texted and I just said, "Hey, are you okay?" And they're like, "No, actually, I'm not. I almost didn't come to the game today because I've been in tears all day. I had issues and challenges with my brother who's dealing with addiction." And that just opened up this whole thing. Well, I didn't know, and I didn't know by asking that question I was going to get that response. But as it turned out, by 7 a.m. this morning, I already had connected her to somebody that's a good friend of mine that has overcome addiction, has become an entrepreneur, and he speaks to organizations, people that are in rehab facilities and in recovery. And I reached out and said, "Would you be willing to talk to this person's brother?" And he was completely honored that I thought of him to do that. Number one, but number two, she couldn't believe before she had actually even left the house to get to work that I had already put this in motion. These things that we have, they do matter, and they make a difference. And what we do when we do it, we show other people that they matter to us. And maybe it is just taking somebody else's trash and throwing it away, but it matters for the person that's also enjoying the space, or reaching out to somebody who you just know there's a little something off, right? And just letting them know, like, you noticed and you wanted to make sure that they're okay, or saying hi, like you said, to the folks that are on the streets, who are people. They're humans just like us, and
Yeah.
to be able to have a conversation with them, to treat them, just as they're an equal. Those things have an impact, and they make a huge difference, and hopefully inspire other people to do the same. That's the critical thing, I think.
It has nothing to do with how smart you are. It has nothing to do with your level of education, your role within a company or a job or
Yep.
notoriety. Nothing to do with that. It has to do with who you are as a human being. That's the bottom line. You pick up a piece of trash, or I would pick up a piece of trash, because I don't want that to become a trend where we live in a place where everything is a mess. In our neighborhood here, I think it's probably once a year because we don't do it in the winter. The whole neighborhood gets together and does a neighborhood cleanup. We just pick up trash. We do a little bit of weeding in the public spaces, and it keeps our neighborhood really beautifully clean and welcoming.
Yeah.
It's really quite something. It takes a couple of hours. Everybody gets out there. You end up, connecting with neighbors you haven't seen for a while for whatever
Yeah.
reason, and it matters. You're showing care, consideration, and love for the area that you live in.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm in the United States and I see a service person, and I will buy a meal for them, and they try to figure out, why in the world would you do that if you're Canadian? And I go, because what you do matters. It matters to us in Canada. I mean, we share the longest free border in the world.
Yeah.
You think what happens south of us doesn't impact us in Canada? Of course it does. It's my way of, showing appreciation. And they never consider that. It never crossed their minds that the country north of them would even pay attention to what they were doing. And people see that, they go, oh,
Yeah.
you're buying a meal. I said, absolutely. We do that at the football games when it's military appreciation night. Ray always tries to find somebody who will actually accept a meal or a drink or something like that. They're really impossible. Like we go and say, let us buy you a hot dog. No, 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 it's okay.
Yeah.
Everything's no, 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 it's okay. Let us do this for you to show our
Yeah.
appreciation. Like, it's just so funny. It's in the offer. Sometimes that's all it takes, people to pay attention to the fact that these are the people that keep us safe, and we want to say, thank you. Don't have to be smart, don't have to be rich to buy a hot dog for somebody. What you're doing is just saying thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate you, I'm honoring your presence. And I think we forget to say to ourselves, we matter. What we do in every day, in every action, every conversation matters.
Yep.
Period. Full stop. And once you pay attention to that, it's going to change the way you approach something, the way you approach someone, how you engage in a conversation. Because if you're angry at somebody for whatever reason, say at work, I'm not going to do the personal stuff. That's even messier. Not in this call anyway, in this show. But looking at, if you're about to engage in a conversation with somebody that you're upset with at work, and you start off with your thinking saying, what I'm going to say matters.
Yeah.
It's going to matter to what the outcome for me. It's going to matter to how that person is going to view me for the rest of our relationship. And then engage in the conversation. It's going to have a totally different tone.
Yeah.
I think it's a good reality check.
It is a good reality check. It's a good way to remind yourself before you go out and do that. Whether you're having that conversation with a colleague, you're starting this new project, you're out there in the community. How and what you do matters. So how and what you do today, are you going to make sure that what you do matters, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said. I mean, it's your opportunity, and I tell everybody, every connection, every conversation, every action, every decision that you make has a ripple effect, and you have the ability to inform whether it's a positive ripple effect or a negative ripple effect. Not everybody will maybe always agree with you. Not everybody will step up and applaud you. Not everybody is going to even pay attention. But the ones that do, that matters. And how you
Yeah.
conduct yourself, how you go about what you do, and just how you show up as your true authentic self. You might inspire somebody else to do the same, and that matters. So, Well, this
Bingo.
this is a fun conversation. I love this because it really dovetails into our last couple of episodes really well because it ties back to the commitment level and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and how you want to show up. And I think that's one of the beautiful aspects of what we do with this show is we get people to look at things from a different perspective, a different angle, ask some deeper questions, both internally, but also questions that can be put on the table at your next meeting or at the family dinner table. But Donna, how do people give us their input about or their thoughts about this episode or any topics that they might like us to dive into or explore in a future episode?
Best way is join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. Tell us what you think, what you've experienced, and what you'd like us to talk about for future shows. That would be great. Or our YouTube channel. And all of them, all of our shows are there. And we really look forward to hearing from you.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Donna, this was a great one. Thank you so much for bringing this topic to the table. Another great episode. Guys, we'll be back again with another episode of Inquiring Minds next week. But until then, Donna, take care.
You too.